اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Salama ibn al-Akwar radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates, a funeral was brought before the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam so that he may offer the janaza salah. He asked, "Does he have any debts?" The people replied, "No." So he performed the salah. Another funeral was brought to him and he asked, "Does he have any debts?" The people replied, "Yes." He said, "You may offer his janaza salah. I am not going to do it." Abu Qatada radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, "O Messenger of Allah, I undertake to pay off his debts." The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and performed the salah. Mentioned by Bukhari. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "The person who takes loans from people with the intention of paying them back, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu shall pay it for him on his behalf. The person who takes loans from people with the intention of not paying them back, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu shall destroy his wealth." Mentioned by Bukhari. Note, the words Allah Jalla Jalaluhu shall pay it for him on his behalf means that Allah Jalla Jalaluhu will help him to pay off his debts. If he was unable to pay them off in this world, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu shall pay them off on his behalf in the hereafter. The words Allah Jalla Jalaluhu shall destroy his wealth means that he will have to bear physical or monetary loss because of his evil intention. Abdullah ibn Ja'far radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu remains with the debtor until he pays off his debt, provided he did not incur the debt for something which Allah Jalla Jalaluhu dislikes. Mentioned by Ibn Majah. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam borrowed a camel. When the time came to repay, he gave the person an older, more valuable camel and said, "The best of you are those who do good when paying back their debts." Mentioned by Muslim. Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam borrowed 40,000 from me. Then, when some money came to him, he paid me back and said, "May Allah bless you in your family and your wealth." Paying back a loan entails returning what you borrowed and praising and thanking the person who gave you the loan. Mentioned by Nasa'i. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "If I had the equivalent of mountain Uhud in gold, I would not want 3 days to pass while I still have some of it in my possession, except for a small amount which I retain for the payment of debts." Mentioned by Bukhari. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "The person who is not grateful to people cannot be grateful to Allah." Mentioned by Tirmidhi. Note, some commentators say that when a person is ungrateful to people who do favors to him, he becomes habituated into ungratefulness and is therefore ungrateful to Allah Jalla Jalaluhu as well. Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "If a favor is done to a person and he says to him, 'May Allah reward you well,' then he has thanked him and praised him fully." Mentioned by Tirmidhi. Note, to make the above supplication means that you are unable to pay him back and you are therefore asking Allah Jalla Jalaluhu to give him a better reward. This supplication also contains a praise in favor of the person. Mentioned by Ma'arif al-Hadith. Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates, when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam came to Medina, the emigrants, Muhajirun, came to him and said, "O Messenger of Allah, we have not come across anyone like the people among whom we have settled," referring to the Ansar. When they experience prosperity, they spend a lot on us. When they experience poverty, they still worry about us and help us. They take our share of work and labor on their shoulders, but still share the profits with us. This extraordinary self-sacrifice of theirs has caused us to fear that they will take away all the rewards. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, "This will not happen as long as you supplicate to Allah Jalla Jalaluhu in their favor and continue showing your gratitude to them." Mentioned by Tirmidhi. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The person who is presented with a fragrant flower should not refuse it because it is light, not burdensome to carry, and its fragrance is good." Mentioned by Muslim. Note, if a low-value item like a flower is refused, the person might think that his gift is refused because it has no value. This would hurt the person. Ibn Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Three things should not be refused: a pillow, perfume, and milk." Mentioned by Tirmidhi. Abu Umama radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "If a person intercedes on behalf of his Muslim brother and the latter then gives him a gift for interceding on his behalf, and he accepts the gift, he has in fact entered through a huge door of usury interest." Mentioned by Abu Dawud. Note, it is referred to as usury because the person who interceded received it without exchange for anything. Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "If a person has two daughters and he treats them affectionately for as long as they remain with him, or he remains with them, those two daughters will most certainly cause his admission into paradise." Mentioned by Ibn Hibban. Anas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Me and the person who takes care of two girls shall enter paradise like this." He then pointed with his two fingers. Mentioned by Tirmidhi. Aisha radiyallahu anha narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Whoever takes responsibility of these daughters and treats them well, they will be barriers for him against the hellfire." Mentioned by Bukhari. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "If a person has three daughters or three sisters, or two daughters or two sisters, treats them kindly and fears Allah Jalla Jalaluhu with regard to them, shall be in paradise." Mentioned by Tirmidhi. Ayyub ibn Musa Rahimahullah narrates from his father, who narrates from his grandfather radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "No father has given his children a better gift than good conduct." Mentioned by Tirmidhi. Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "If a girl is born to a person and he does not bury her alive, does not humiliate her, and does not give preference to his son over her, then Allah Jalla Jalaluhu shall admit him into paradise." Mentioned by Hakim. And Nu'man ibn Bashir radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that his father took him to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "I have given a slave as a gift to this son of mine." He asked, "Did you give all your children the same gift?" He replied, "No." He said, "Then take the slave back." Mentioned by Bukhari. Note, we learn from this that there has to be equality when giving gifts to children. Abu Sa'id radiyallahu ta'ala anhu and Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrate that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "When a child is born to a person, he must give him a good name and teach him good manners. When he reaches the age of maturity, he must get him married. If he does not get him married upon reaching the age of maturity, and he sins, the sin will be on his father." Mentioned by Bayhaqi. Aisha radiyallahu anha narrates, a Biddu came to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked, "You kiss children. We don't kiss our children." The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "What can I do if Allah Jalla Jalaluhu removed mercy from your heart?" Mentioned by Bukhari. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Present gifts to each other because gifts remove the misunderstanding of the heart. No neighbor should despise her neighbor's gift, even if it is a sheep's trotter, mentioned by Tirmidhi. In like manner, the person sending such a gift should not consider it insignificant. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to make amal upon whatever we have listened to, and may He give us the tawfiq to send this to others, inshallah. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayh.